He never trusted anyone near his son. Not therapists, not distant relatives, not the kind neighbors who offered to help. For 12 years, his world had shrunk into a tight circle of two, him and his boy. And he planned to keep it that way. But all it took was one moment, one unexpected scene, to break open the walls he had built so carefully. Adnan stood at the doorway of his own home, frozen. His breath caught, his heartbeat stumbling in confusion. Because there, on the carpet in the living room, sat the new maid, Amara, holding his son's hands gently, guiding them along the grooves of a toy car track. And for the first time in years, his son, little Sammy, was laughing. A soft, clear, joyful laugh. The sound hit him harder than any storm ever could. He didn't move. Didn't blink. He just watched as the woman he had hired only 2 days ago did something he hadn't heard in years. She made his son happy. And that terrified him. Adnan had not always been a man of closed doors and silent rooms. Once, he had been full of plans, young, ambitious, ready to give the world to the woman he loved and the child they were expecting. But fate had a way of changing even the strongest hearts. Sammy had been born early. Too early. His tiny body had struggled, and though he survived, complications left him with physical and developmental challenges that needed constant care. Doctors had spoken gently but firmly, life would be different. Harder. Demanding. And long-term. Then, when Sammy was barely 3, Adnan's wife passed away suddenly, leaving him with grief that never seemed to fully heal. People pitied him. Others offered help. But each time someone new stepped in, hoping to lighten his burden, they found the work too heavy, the child too difficult, the patience required too great. One by one, caretakers left, teachers gave up, friends stopped visiting. Eventually, Adnan learned the simplest truth. If he didn't protect his son, no one else would. So he did. He handled every bath, every feeding, every meltdown, every night of poor sleep. He worked from home so he could stay close. He avoided visitors. He refused to hire long-term help. All that effort built him a reputation, a hardworking but distant man, loving but unreachable, exhausted yet unbreakable. Until one day he broke anyway. It happened quietly, just a stagger in the kitchen as he reached for the kettle. A spinning in his vision. A collapse onto the cold tiles as his heart pounded like a warning drum. The doctor's words were simple: stress. Overwork. You can't continue like this. But Adnan shook his head. I have no choice. The doctor looked at him with a sympathy that was almost cruel. Everyone has a limit. You've reached yours. Against every instinct, Adnan agreed to hire part-time help. The agency sent Amara, a young woman with calm eyes and a quiet voice. Too young, he had thought at first. Too inexperienced. Too gentle for the chaos of his home. He expected her to last 2 days. He did not expect what he was witnessing on the third. Sammy didn't usually engage with strangers. He didn't like being touched. Loud voices startled him. New faces overwhelmed him. But there he was, sitting with Amara as if she were someone he had known for years. She moved slowly, allowing Sammy to choose the pace. She smiled but didn't force eye contact. She spoke softly, saying just enough to encourage him but never too much to scare him away. And somehow, impossibly, Sam responded. He pressed the toy car into her hand. He guided it along the track. He babbled in sounds only he understood, and she nodded as if she understood everything. Then came the laugh. A sound Adnan thought he might never hear again. He stepped forward, and the floor creaked beneath him. Instantly, Sammy jerked back, dropping the toy. His eyes darted around, panic rising. Sorry, Adnan said quickly, holding up his hands. It's okay, Beta. It's just me. Sammy's breathing eased. Amara looked up at him. I'm sorry, sir. I know you said not to. What were you doing? His voice came out harsher than he intended. She swallowed. He pointed at the toys. I just followed his lead. Followed his lead. 3 simple words, but to a child like Sammy, they meant everything. Adnan looked at the toys, then at his son, and finally at the maid who had somehow done what experts couldn't. He didn't know whether to feel grateful or afraid. Over the next week, Adnan watched closely. Too closely, perhaps. Every time Amara reached for a dish, he checked. Every time she walked down the hallway, he followed. When she played with Sammy, he stood nearby like a shadow. She didn't complain. Instead, she worked quietly, cleaning, organizing, preparing meals, but always keeping an eye on Sammy. And without forcing, she became a small, safe part of his life. One afternoon, as Adnan was working on his laptop, he heard something that made him freeze again. Sammy was trying to speak. A soft, slow attempt. Ma. Adnan stood up, heart racing. Was he calling for her? Amara didn't react dramatically. She simply encouraged him. You're doing great, Sammy. Try again if you want. Ma. This time, a clearer sound. Adnan felt something twist inside him, not jealousy, not anger, but something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Hope. He stepped into the room. He's never said that before. Amara hesitated. I didn't teach him. I just respond when he makes sounds. It helps him try. Adnan sat down slowly. Sammy looked at him, then returned to playing with Amara's dupatta, fascinated by its embroidered edges. You're good with him, Adnan said quietly. She smiled. He's easy to understand if you watch him carefully. Most people didn't watch. Most people only saw the disability, the difficulty, the challenge. But she saw the child. It was that simple. And that rare. The weeks passed, and the routine settled like gentle rain over parched land. Amara would arrive in the morning. Sammy would perk up as soon as he heard her voice. She helped with meals, helped him stretch, helped him practice small skills like holding spoons or manipulating toys. She even sang to him, soft lullabies that made him sway happily. Adnan watched all of it, sometimes from the doorway, sometimes from across the room, sometimes pretending he wasn't watching even though he always was. One evening, he found himself saying something he hadn't said to a stranger in years. Thank you. Amara looked surprised. For what, sir? For treating my son like he matters. Her expression softened. He does matter. It was such a simple answer. Yet to Adnan, it felt like a truth he needed to hear more than anything. But with every emotional breakthrough, life always brings challenges. One rainy afternoon, Sammy began having a meltdown. The thunder outside frightened him, the loud sounds made him panic. Adnan rushed toward him, but Amara reached him first, kneeling beside him, offering her hands. She didn't speak too much. She didn't try to control him. She simply stayed present, grounding him with calm breathing and soft reassurance. It's okay, Sammy. I'm here. You're safe. Adnan watched as his son slowly calmed down. As his breathing steadied. As the trembling fingers wrapped around Amara's hand. Then something unexpected happened. Sammy looked up, saw his father, and reached out to him too. It was the first time in a long time Sammy had actively reached for him. Adnan knelt, overwhelmed. Together, they sat, one hand in Amara's, one hand in his. And in that triangle of connection, something inside Adnan cracked open in a way that felt healing. Things changed after that. Adnan slowly allowed himself to rest more. To trust more. To work without constantly checking the door every 5 minutes.